Hi everyone, my name is Miranda, and in today's video I am going to talk about my first snake that I ever got, Elton. And I have Elton right here. He is a Candino ball python. And on Tuesday, June 25th, it was a very special day because it was 2 years since I got Elton. So I have always really wanted a snake. I've always loved them growing up, always really been interested in reptiles, snakes specifically, but my mom was very, very scared of them, so I was never able to have one of my own. When I turned 18, I asked her if I could get a snake, and she was like, you know, you're pretty responsible. I just don't want to be the one taking care of it. She kind of had that mindset that all snakes are venomous and scary, slimy, the same mindset that most people who are fairly uneducated about snakes have. So I started researching because obviously I was like, what sort of snake am I going to buy? I need to get all of this stuff together. And then I started watching Super Mary Face, now Mary Making Its videos. And I saw her ivory ball python Benjamin, and I fell in love with him. I fell in love with the ball python species. Everything about that snake I loved. And then I was like, I've decided I am definitely going to get a ball python. Now, this was in January. I had just turned 19, and I didn't even know where to start. I was just starting to get educated on ball pythons, all the different morphs. All I knew was that I needed one. I had to have a ball python. Right away, there were two morphs that really drew me in, and that was Super Black Pastel and Candinos. I loved the darkness and the solid, like the lack of pattern on the Super Black Pastels, and I thought that the coloring of Candinos were gorgeous. So it really intrigued me that I was able to order a snake online, but I thought to myself, I'm gonna see if there's any local reptile expos, and if there are, I'm going to wait and I am going to get a snake at an expo, so that way I can kind of pick one out for personality as well as looks, because I knew that even though ball pythons were kind of known as being docile, you weren't always going to get a docile snake, and I really wanted one that I'd be able to handle and interact with occasionally. So I googled local reptile expos in New England, and since there's really not a whole lot going on in New England in general, I was pretty lucky to find one. It was the closest one was in the beginning of April. Like I said, this was January, in Manchester, New Hampshire. So I went to that one, but at this, I had to wait, I had to wait like 3 months to go to this expo. I was so excited because I've been to like Petco and PetSmart and seen all the snakes, and I'm like, I don't even know anything about them, but seeing them in this condition, I can already tell that these aren't healthy snakes that you want to buy from. So I never obviously ended up getting a snake from one of those chain pet stores. Unfortunately, when I went to the expo in April, I knew that I was not ready to get a snake. So I gathered supplies. I think I got hides there and a water bowl, and I held a lot of snakes. I actually got my mom to hold a ball python there. And it really helped, since it wasn't a huge one, it was a juvenile. It was actually probably about Elton size right now, but she was able to see, okay, this snake is not slimy, it's actually pretty docile. I'm getting used to the idea of this living in my house. After April, that was like so stressful to me. I every day just told everyone how much I wanted a snake, what I wanted for a snake. Everyone around me was just so sick of hearing that I wanted a snake, but it's like I didn't know what else to say because all I could think about was getting my future snake, and I just had this idea of what I wanted him to be in my head. For some reason, I've always wanted to start out with a male ball python. I really don't know why, but all I knew was that I wanted a male ball python. So it felt like years had passed because the next expo was in June. And I just remember crossing off the days on the calendar, counting down, saving up, double checking my enclosure to make sure that it had perfect temperatures and perfect humidity for months. And yeah, it did, but it was just seeing the empty tub just broke my heart because I was I need a snake now. But I almost caved and I almost got a snake online instead of waiting until the expo, but I'm so glad that I didn't, because finally on June 25th, something really amazing happened. Like I said, I went into this expo knowing I was coming out with a snake. I knew what I wanted. I was really looking for a Candino or a super black pastel ball python. And I must have spent hours there. I went with my mom and my boyfriend at the time. We went up and down the aisles, up and down, and it felt like I wasn't finding anything because there were so many snakes that were really cool, and I was like, I wouldn't mind having this, but I just felt like I was missing something. And both my boyfriend and my mom were just like, okay, can we kind of hurry it up? We've been here for like 4 hours. We thought that you would just basically run in, get a snake, and that was going to be the end of it. Oh my god, his little periscope just killed me. So something really crazy happened, and I'm not a big believer in like fate or the stars aligning, but if anything were to make me believe that stuff like that exists, it would have been this moment. So we had been there, like I said, for hours just searching for me to find a snake that I wanted that was within, I didn't want to spend more than $600 on my first ball python. That was like my limit. I was like, I don't want to spend more than $600. So then we're going down like a road that we had been through before, and all three of us, my mom, my ex-boyfriend, and I, we stopped and we saw the same snake. All three of us at the same time. I swear to God, all of us said, that's him. And we pointed to a little deli cup of this baby male Candino ball python, and it was Elton. And I remember just being like, okay, he's bright purple, he's a Candino, he's a male, this is exactly what I wanted. How could I have not seen him before? So I asked to hold him. I just remember him fitting in the palm of my hand and him being so small. I asked the breeder, the company name is Tandem Reptiles. I have literally heard or seen nothing of them since this day. I swear, I don't know, they dropped off the face of the earth. They have not been back to a single expo. They don't update their Facebook page. I don't know what happened to them. Anyway, so Elton was an extremely calm ball python. He didn't strike or seem stressed out by the expo and all of the noise. I remember he was in the palm of my hand, and he just started periscoping up until he was like level with my head, and we had a moment, and we just looked at each other, and I was like, this is my snake. Like, I know that this is the snake that I'm going to get. So I paid for him, and I asked some questions like, what is he currently feeding? And he was eating live mice at the time. And the guy, he tried selling me Elton's sister, a Candino female, but I was just like, I only have set up for one ball python, and also that would push me over my limit for price. For those wondering, Elton was $350 at the time. Candinos have come down in price significantly since I got Elton. Now you can probably get a male for $195, but I would have paid like $1,000 if it meant that I could have gotten Elton. And all I wanted to do was just go out into the car and just hug him and hold him. But I remember being so scared because everyone's always like, ball pythons are really fragile, they stress out easily. When you get a new ball python, you can't handle it for like 2 weeks. You need to just put it in solitary, put it in quarantine, try to feed a week after you get it, and then that's it. So I was like super stressed out because I was one of these people. I will admit, I was one of these people who was like, oh, I got a new snake, I had to hold it all the time, I just want to take pictures of him and love him forever. But I told myself, I was like, I'm not going to do that, I can't stress him out. I want to be the best snake parent that I possibly can. So we got to the car because we left about as soon as we got Elton. And I couldn't think of a name for him, and I remember taking the lid off of the deli cup in the car, and I was just like holding him and looking at him, and again he periscoped up, but he was staring out the window and he was just watching cars drive by, he was watching the landscape, and I was like, this snake, he knows. She knows.
Authorities say their big break came when they found a video of his latest victim.
If she knows you yapping about it ain't gonna change it, shut the
snake knows. he just seemed, I know that snakes they can't love, they can't feel anything, and they're a pure instinct, but I was like, there is something, this snake and I, we have a connection. I didn't know what to name him at first. The two names that it came down to were Donut and Elton. My ex-boyfriend wanted to name him, Donut because he looks like a lemon cream donut, especially when he was younger. He really does now, but I love Elton John's music. I'm a huge fan of him in general, and I just remember looking at his bright purple pattern and his red eyes, and I was like, he looks just like Elton John when he wears his purple suit and his red Gucci sunglasses. And I was like, Donut is a really good name that I am going to use for a future snake if it applies, but I was like, this is Elton. His name is Elton. So when I got home, I immediately put him into his tub and he went into a hide. He wasn't one of these snakes. Out of all of the snakes that I've gotten, he's the only one that has never paced his enclosure when he's first put into it. He just immediately went into his hide and he just fell asleep. And I remember sitting in my room like at night watching him thermoregulate and go between the hot and the cool side. And he wouldn't roam, but he would just poke his head out and kind of look around his hide, and I was like, oh my god, like I've never loved anything as much as I love this snake. And he ate without an issue. He's always done really well with handling. Like I can just have him out and he'll stay like this, where some snakes, like Sir Pants, if I have him out, he gets antsy and he wants to be put back, but Elton, he will always just fall asleep. He's just always so content. I cannot put into words how lucky I got and how much I loved this snake. Like, look, I hope that everyone who wants a snake gets an Elton. Like, that's not just a Candino, but a snake that's like him, that has his kind of personality. Because snakes, I know that they don't have personalities, but they all respond to stimuli differently, and I hope that everyone gets a snake that responds similar to Elton, because he is just the best thing I could have ever asked for, and every day I am so thankful that I have this snake. When I had him in a standalone tub, I remember waking up for work every morning, and then when I'd start making noise, he would poke his head out of his hide and kind of look at me. I know that he was just investigating. He probably felt the vibrations and was like, what's going on? Am I in danger? But to me, that was his way of greeting me and being like, okay mom, have a good day at work. And just, there's something about him that he's more than a snake. This is literally, I refer to him as my firstborn and my son. That is what I think of him as. And I do refer to all of my snakes as my kids, but he's my boy, he's my sunshine. I cannot say enough how lucky I got and how thankful I am for that day. And like I said, that not only would the three of us agree that this was the snake that I was getting, but that he would end up being just such an amazing snake. There is just something aligned in the universe that day that led me to Elton, and every day I wake up realizing how lucky I am to have him and just how everything played out that day. Like, anyone could have bought him. I could have just easily overlooked him and got another snake, but things happened the way they did for a reason, and I'm so happy for it. That story probably wasn't that interesting, but some people have been asking the Elton origin story, and since this is my second year with him, I figured it was a good time, good as time as any. And his age, his breeder didn't have an exact hatch date, but he was hatched between mid-April to early May of 2017. So he is just over 2 years old. I hope that was at least interesting for some people, and that answers the question for how I got Elton, as well as just a 2-year little celebratory video for him. You're not supposed to pick favorites. He absolutely is my favorite. If someone came to me and said, you can only take one snake, you only need to keep one snake, all of them would be gone except Elton. I know that sounds horrible, but there would not even be a thought. I'd be like, okay, like, what should I do? It's like, no, Elton is staying. Like, I will do anything to fight to make sure that I have him for the rest of both of our lives. Like, he is mine forever, no matter what. That is one thing that I am definitely sure of, is that Elton and I are going to be forever. Well, Thanks for watching today's video. Like I said, I hope that was at least a little bit entertaining. I don't know if it's because I've told the story so much that it's not entertaining to me anymore, or maybe it just really isn't that much of an exciting story, but either way, thank you for watching, and I will be back hopefully soon with a new video. Bye guys, take care.